Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples and Genos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. My name is Nate Groot Nibblink. I'm the creator of Apples and Genos, originator of the Zero G Draft Strategy. And in this podcast, Blake and I are going to talk about the biggest hotshots and have nots of the past couple of weeks. Let's get it. And of course, I have your friend and my best friend, the man fighting to stay awake. It's Blake Creamer. Blake, how are we feeling tonight?
Oh man! Every time I hear your voice, it's easy for me to get up for this, buddy. Although I do have undiagnosed narcolepsy, Nate. So what you just said is very offensive to me. But I'm going to kind of just push that to the side because we got to get to business. We got hot shots and have-nots all over the place, and I'm stoked to be here, buddy. How you doing, man? How your matchups going? All that stuff. Well, actually, why did I do that? I'm so sorry, Nate. Oh God, we talked about it offline. Nate, you give us the Coles notes. So give us the best bits. Come on.
Yeah, I'm currently ahead in Kakupful, and let's get to the newsies. Newsies right here. Lehkonen and Druin potentially back for Colorado. Lehkonen coming off IR. They moved Nikolai Kovalenko and Ivan both down to the AHL. So yeah, it looks like we could be seeing two additions. I'm sure the Avalanche think it's about time that they get some injury luck their way. So who becomes the power play guy? Who becomes the top line guy? Both up for debate. You have any idea on either of those spots, Blake?
I don't know, but all I know is that Ivan and Ricard Raquel, they met outside in the parking lot, and it looks like Raquel was the one that kind of came out the victor. Ivan, yeah, he's back to his evil lair. He's working on his inventions so he can live to fight another day. But yeah, I think if Lehkonen is probably looking like he might play Tuesday. So I think he'll probably jump on the top power play there, which is nice. And then, yeah, with Nichushkin coming back potentially mid-November here, I think that you got to go nuke on power play 1. But does Lehkonen bump Middlestat out of there? My gut tells me no. I think Middlestat's probably going to hang on to that power play 1 spot. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's going to get messy quick here. Yeah, Lehkonen there, Druin there, Nichushkin. Yeah, I think it's going to be tough to decipher. I think let's assume for the moment that Lehkonen and Druin are both back Tuesday. That would kind of be my guess based on the moves that they sent 2 guys down, which they really can't afford to do unless they have bodies coming in. So if they're both back, then I think Druin gets the top line for sure. They liked that line a lot last year. It would make a lot of sense to me. Give Lehkonen to Middlestat to have a guy to play with. That makes a lot of sense. But the power play 1, I really don't know. Feels like Druin is kind of like a Middlestat in some ways, more of a distributor, not really a shooting threat. Whereas Lehkonen feels a little bit more like Colton in the role that he was doing, be a bit more of that bumper guy, play through the middle of the ice and try to get himself open for the other guys as they circle around. I don't know. That's kind of like a very narrative based take, I guess, not really based in a whole lot of actual fact, but that's where I'm at. But yeah, then Nichushkin comes back, and I don't know, like, is it open arms and he's like right back into full minutes? Like, he was getting like 20 plus minutes up there with the big guys at some points, or does Druin hang on to line 1 at least, and maybe Nichushkin works in on power play 1, but second line? There's a lot to unpack here with how these lines are going to work out. And then, yeah, Colton obviously coming back at some point as well. What does that look like? There's a lot to unpack there, but either way, I think there's a good chance that all these guys will have at least some fantasy relevance. You can just see it. Like, Colorado didn't wilt, they didn't go away. They had some tough games for sure with all these injuries, but they're still winning their share. Like, they just have that in their DNA. You see that with good teams, right? They're not going to go away. They're not going to wilt, and getting these guys back is only going to make them better. So I do think that there's a pretty strong chance that anybody in the Avs top 6 is going to be worth rostering for fantasy, at the very least as a streamer. All right, let's keep rolling. Let's talk about Braden Point. Looks like he was injured in this game on Sunday. Could not finish the game. We don't really have any more of an update, but yeah, Twitter is telling us that he was rubbing his groin a lot.
That's
What does that mean to you, Blake?
I don't know, but it's on Twitter, so it's got to be true, right? I mean, they're going wild on X right now. They don't even care. They're like, whatever. He was rubbing his groin a lot. The beat writer did address that. Said, yes, I know that sounds funny, but that's what he's doing. So there you go. I don't know. We might have a potential groin issue, or Braden Point's going to be arrested for indecent exposure. Either way, he's not able to finish the game. That stinks. So it looked like it was Chaffee that went up on power play one there. I don't even know the man's first name. What is
Mitchell.
Chaffee's first name? Right. Okay, Mitchell. All right.
Yeah.
There you go. Mitchell Chaffee, shout out to you. Big listener of the show. Sorry to butcher your name there, my man.
Yeah, the only thing I guess to take away, obviously we don't know anything more about the injury. If there was to be something even moderate term for Point where he's out for like a week, then I think Anthony Cirelli would be of major interest. I would imagine that he would get most of the minutes, would probably get some Kucherov exposure at even strength. So that would be pretty exciting for him. Even if I don't have the greatest view of Cirelli's offensive talents, anybody on a line with Kucherov and potentially getting some power play one. I know Chaffee got it there, but yeah, I don't know if I trust that beyond one game. So we'll see what that looks like, but keep an eye out. There could be some fallout there. Philip Broberg had a really awkward fall against Toronto. If you haven't watched the replay, I would suggest that you don't. It did not look great.
Yeah.
Basically, him and Marner went into the boards together. Marner like tripped and fell onto like his ankle or lower leg, and he like bent backwards. It looked really painful. I mean, hopefully it's not anything too serious, but it did not look good. So, yeah, and just when he was getting on power play one there as well, and we were starting to get excited for fantasy purposes, he'd already put up some points at even strength. He was looking good as a St. Louis Blue, but yeah, we'll have to wait for the official update. But yeah, just based on what I saw, it did not look great. Samuel Ersson is out a week. It was really weird. Like went off for a skate issue, got a new skate blade, and then was like, actually, I'm injured now, and actually, I'm missing a week now. Like I don't know how this progression works exactly, but yeah, that's obviously big news for the Flyers. Ersson was actually finally rounding into form. It felt like starting to play well, and everybody else that they've tried in net has been pretty much a tire fire so far this season. So hopefully that it's nothing more than a week and he can come back with no ill effects. But yeah, it's a tough spot. I don't know if I'm interested in any Flyers goaltenders beyond him. Are you, Blake?
No, definitely not. I mean, I've streamed in Fedotov for a couple one-game streams, and it's been a debacle, right? Yeah. And then I don't even have a real pulse on the other guy there. Kolasov, is that his name? So yeah, I'm not interested in that right now. Ersson was getting there, right? But it is what it is. The Flyers are they're not an exciting team for fantasy at the current moment.
Yeah, I think we can fairly say that. Ilya Samsonov dealing with some Samsornus. And Akira Schmid has been called up for Vegas. Basically, all this means is that Aiden Hill gets more starts. I think I don't know if anybody's going to trust Akira Schmid for quite some time after what happened with the Devils last year, but I think you should just be more excited if you've got Aiden Hill. I don't think there's probably much takeaway for fantasy other than Aiden Hill will get some more run. Big news is Barzal looks like 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah, suspected, but now a little bit more official. Yeah, it's going to be tough for the Islanders looking really for a way to score goals. Yeah, it's going to be tough. There's no two ways about that. And yeah, it's really going to put the microscope on Patrick Roy now with what he has not been able to do really so far with this team. I didn't think this was a team that was, particularly good in terms of an on-paper lineup. And now you subtract their most dynamic offensive player from the equation. Yeah, I don't see how it gets a lot better. They probably had a little bit of positive regression from just how terrible it's been lately. But yeah, this is not going to be a good scene. And it's just a downward arrow for pretty much everybody on Long Island, in my opinion. You think there's anybody who takes a step forward because of the Barzal injury?
No, not really. I mean, we like Anders Lee here the last little bit. So I mean, there's everybody's going to eat just a little bit more, but it's nothing exciting, right? Like Anders Lee's playing with Bo Horvat now. I still like Siplikov. I mean, Brock Nelson, grumpiest man on earth. Even more reason to be grumpy now, right? But these guys can do stuff for fantasy. But again, not only is it like a kind of an anemic offense there, Patrick Roy doesn't have them humming either. So it's like, it's horrible. All they've got is, Ilya Sorokin. He's playing his brains out, but he can't will his team to win. He actually played amazing today, which is Sunday against the Rangers. But yeah, they got caved in 5-2. So it's going to be rough times on the island there.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Islanders don't look terrible under the hood. Like they're actually third in the league in scoring chance for percentage at 5v5 over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, you have to wonder how, just even what the mental effect of losing your best player is like that. So, yeah, just not exciting for anybody on Long Island. Tyler Seguin, day to day with a lower body injury. Concerning now, he's missed time multiple times now this season already. And yeah, have to wonder if this is going to be more of an issue moving forward. Probably it doesn't really mean anything for any of the other guys, right? They're still going to split up the lineup, split up the ice time amongst everybody. They still got lots of guys. It probably takes like 3 forward injuries before we actually see some like condensing of minutes for the top guys in Dallas. I don't know. You got anything else there on Seguin?
No, nothing really on Seguin, but obviously when he's in the lineup, this guy's pretty valuable. That line of Marchman and Duchesne and Seguin, like, stream them with comfort, right? Or roster them, comfortably. These guys are doing really well. It's Maverick Bork that's moved on to that line, but I mean, that's a streamer in a deep league if you're trying to go Dallas. And why would you? This is a really stinky week for Dallas as well. So, it's a good one for Point as well, actually, because Tampa Bay has a gross schedule. So 2 games for Tampa, 2 games for Dallas. Take the week off and come back strong.
Yep. Thatcher Demko was out on the ice after the Canucks practice. Again, there's no real update at this time. This isn't the first time it's happened. There was a tweet I saw with a picture from October 22nd where he's doing a similar thing after practice, getting some on-ice work in. So it's not like this is a brand new occurrence, but it's still happening. Rick Tocchet has been like happy, it sounds like, with the progress. There was a quote from him that he had like 4 good days in a row or something like that. I honestly have no idea what to make of that. I don't want to get people's hopes up about Demko anytime soon until we have some sort of timeline. It feels like when we do get a timeline, it'll probably be like, here's our 2-week plan to get him into a game. And we'll just have to go with it at that point. But up until that point, we probably will get nothing. So, yeah, that's where we're at with Demko. And then in this game here today, David Pastrnak got benched for the 3rd period. It was a 2-0 win for Boston. And honestly, like, I don't know what Jim Montgomery's trying to do here. It's really funny. If you look at the 5v5 Corsi graph that you can see on Natural Stat Trick for each of the games, the graph just kind of goes up. There's a few dips, but the graph just goes up in Boston's favor. Like they're winning the Corsi 4 battle throughout the game, and it gets into the 3rd period and just drops off a cliff, like when Pastrnak was out. And if you look at it, yeah, Pastrnak had 7 shots in 14 minutes, 9 individual Corsi 4, and then you drop him in the 2nd period. I mean, it worked out. Like they didn't lose the game, but yeah, I just can't understand it. Like, what do you think you're doing, especially in a game that, like, it's one thing to like bench your star player in a game that you're losing to like really send a message, but like it's a game you're winning. Like, I don't get it. I think this is kind of like old school coaching that doesn't really work. I know the Bruins are kind of like that old school. They want to believe in themselves as lunch pail kids and they do things the right way. But I honestly don't think that's working for anybody over there. Kraken, like, this is not a thing exclusive to playing the Boston Bruins. They've scored 1 goal in their last 3 games now. So it's not like the Bruins are doing something too spectacular here either, shutting out the Kraken. Yeah, I don't know. You got anything else on that? I'm just kind of fed up with coaches pulling these stupid games.
Oh man, yeah, you and me both. We've been off it for a long time. This it's just like you said. If it was a bad game, the team was just getting ran out the building. Sure, sit past it, but like now he's going to have to ask questions. It's embarrassing. Like I don't like when coaches embarrass their players, especially your star player, especially one of the potentially top 15 players in the entire league. Like you don't do that, and then you throw on top of that like that stuff he was doing with Marchand earlier, right, where he's screaming at him on the bench. So it's just these little things, they sort of add up and it paints a little bit of a picture of what potentially is going on in the dressing room there. We can only speculate, but it's just not a good look. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. You don't bench your best players, and now he has to go out and answer all these questions about this crap and be like, yep, no, the coach is totally right. I totally understand. It's like, Well, no, you don't. Like, why the hell would you do that? No one gets motivated that way. I mean, it's like a short-term fix, but it's a long-term, problem. So that's
Yeah.
where I'm at with that.
All right. Well, let's get into the meat of it here. Let's get
Oh
into
yeah.
hot shots. We got to start with Kyle Connor, who's been going absolutely nuclear as of late. He's got 11 points, 4 goals in his last 5 games, almost 19 minutes a night, 16th in the league, shots per 60, 88th individual scoring chances, 4 per 60. The on ice numbers a little bit down from that, 105 in Corsi, 4 per 60, 119 in on ice scoring chances, 4 per 60. Now on pace for 130 points on the season. What do you expect from Kyle Connor? Is this changing anything about your preseason expectations for Kyle Connor? Where are you at with him at this point, Blake?
It's hard to say, but I mean, I love what I'm seeing. Obviously, like this is insane production right here, and obviously he was battling injury last year, or he came back from injury, and maybe wasn't fully 100% there. And I think having Scott Arniel just as the full-time head coach here, like they've been able to kind of get into a rhythm there, and it's been working. Obviously, I mean, Winnipeg is insane. Like I did not expect that, right? Like,
Yeah.
remember 2 years ago I guess it was 2 years ago where they signed Scheifele and Hellebuck to big extensions where, right before they signed them, you're thinking they're going to blow up the team. Like, okay, these guys are going to go somewhere else. Winnipeg's going to be bad for a little bit. Well, hell no. All right. These guys are amazing. And yeah, Connor's leading the charge, like 9 goals in 12 games. It's amazing. I mean, it's crazy shooting percentage, right? On the year, 20%. I mean, that would be the highest mark of his career, but maybe not totally unsustainable. Maybe he's just on a heater this year and he, puts up like an 18 to 19% shooting percentage on the year. That's totally possible. I don't think it's insane. 130 point pace is insane. That's not real, but it's just really good. Obviously, him and Scheifele are playing very well together. Velarde has started to put some points on the board. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, I like the player. Obviously, like big time shooter. He's shooting a ton. He's working it on the power play. He's got a great shot, man. This guy's release is really slick. So, yeah, I think it's like, where was he being drafted? I'm trying to think about Kyle Connor. This is probably like a fourth rounder, maybe a
Somewhere
fourth
around that
rounder. Like,
3-4 turn, yeah.
amazing value on this player. Like, I don't see why this is going to stop anytime soon, right? No, not 130 point pace, but I mean, I could see 90-point Connor again here this season. He did 93 points 1 year before in 2021, 22, and he just looks good. He looks really good out there.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit lower on that. Like in that year, he skated 21 minutes, 46 seconds a night. This year on the season so far, 1923. Could he play a little bit more? If Winnipeg has to come from behind in more games, yeah, he definitely could. So maybe that's closer to 20 minutes. Last year, it was 1943.
Yep.
Obviously, Arniel had some of that responsibility coaching as interim last year for part of the season. Underlying metrics look really good. There's definitely nothing there. Curiously, the scoring chances, individual scoring chances are a little bit down, but the shots are higher. So probably just an effect of more shots going in and not getting those secondary chances quite as much. I'm not reading too much into that yet with a small sample size here. Really, the 18.4% on ice shooting percentage is what you have to expect to regress. He's been pretty consistent, living between 10.8 and like 11.9 over the last 4 or 5 years. So I think obviously that's going to come down a fair bit here. I think I'm closer to him being like a point per game player rest of season, but obviously there's a chance that he just cooks all year and he ends up with like an 18% shooting percentage and he hits that 90 mark. I don't think that's impossible either. Matt Duchene, you mentioned Duchene here when talking about Sagan, but Duchene has 4 goals, 10 points in his last 5, 2 points per game over this stretch, doing it in under 16 and a half minutes average time on ice. Yeah, stuff is happening for Matt Duchene
I guess
whenever
so.
he's out there at the moment. 25th in on ice scoring chances, 4 per 60, 68th in on ice Corsi, 4 per 60. His shots and individual scoring chances in the low 100s, so it's not great, but it's definitely not bad. What do you make of Duchene? Is there anything different? I know you've been out on Duchene. You've been calling him a sell high. Is it time to sell high on Matt Duchene again, Blake?
No, hell no. You hang on to Matt Duchene for dear life, all right? And you never let go. You never quit this man. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Okay, Matt Duchene is here to stay. This guy's amazing. He's like the best third line player in the league. it's obscene, and he's doing it again, right? Like, he definitely slowed down last year. Like, he had 65 points in 80 games. Right now he's pacing for 112. So obviously, shooting percentage of 35%, no. Okay, that's not real, but I mean, he looks good out there too. I know you hate the eye test, but that line, man, they whip it around really well. They've got all the pieces, and I feel like they're really settled in their role there. They've got that second power play. They actually have been playing kind of as a second power play. J. Rob is getting like some decent minutes, which is nice to see. And yeah, like you said, Matt Duchene's time on ice, it's even less than last year. So expect it to regress, but yeah, oh god, he is a sell high, but damn it, if I had Matt Duchene, which I don't because I never draft this man, if I had him, I think I'd just hold on for now because he's playing amazing. Like, this is a bad week for Dallas, but that's going to get better moving forward, and Dallas is a great team, and he's a big part of it. So I don't know. Do you have Duchene anywhere, and like, what would you do with him?
Yeah, I don't have Duchene anywhere. I would try to sell him high. Like, I don't know that anybody expects him to
Have
keep
to.
up a 112-point pace, but if I could sell him even as a 70-point player, like that would be absolute maximum best case scenario for a guy with under 16 and a half minutes average time on ice on a
Yeah.
season. So yeah, that's where I'm at. If I can sell him for anything more than like a 70-point player, if someone's going to give me, somebody underperforming who's like a 70-ish point player in my estimation rest of season, then for sure I'm going to make that deal and just kind of bet on the variance kind of evening out. But yeah, I'm not going to fault anybody for hanging on to a guy who's putting up 2 points a game either. Another guy who's just about doing that is Alex Ovechkin, famously dissed by Blake all offseason. Really, this whole line, Dylan Strome,
Yeah.
Alexi Protash, has been cooking as of late. So Ovechkin's got 5 goals and 9 points in 5 games. Strome's been the facilitator, as he's wanted to do, just 1 goal but 7 assists for 8 points in those 5 games. And Protash coming in here with 3 goals and 7 points in those 5 games. Now, interestingly, like Ovechkin's under 18 minutes average time on ice in this stretch. Strome's right at 17, and Protas is at 15 and a half about. Ovechkin's got the underlying numbers back, which is kind of exciting. 28th in shots per 60, 5th in shot attempts per 60,
Yep.
down at 92nd in individual scoring chances for per 60. He's not quite doing that the way that he used to, but it's still a good number. On ice numbers are really good. 20th in Corsi 4 per 60, 29th in scoring chances 4 per 60. That's definitely going to be partially because, lower minutes, but all that power play time on ice that he always gets, it's definitely given him a boost there in some of those numbers. But either way, however you want to slice it, this is good stuff for Ovechkin, who's now on a 52 goal, 104 point pace on the season. So let's start with Ovechkin. Blake, are you ready to walk back all of your slander of the offseason on the grade 8?
You know what? I'm happy to eat crow if Ovechkin's crushing right now. I love the player, but what I see out there, it doesn't change. Like, it's still the same. He's got a better supporting cast. And now we've got a second season of Spencer Carberry there, right? Which you and I were both pretty excited about last season. And something I've learned just doing fantasy hockey for now 3 years, like pretty seriously, is like sometimes things are like a year off. You know what I mean? And I feel like Washington was a year off with Carberry there. It takes a while, to do stuff. And that's just an observation. That's not based on anything here. But, I think Ovechkin is healthier. I'm happy. I'm happy he's able to get some production here, especially at even strength, because he only has 1 power play goal. He's got 6 goals at even strength, which is where I really think he's going to fall off, right? But speaking of sell highs, to me, Ovechkin, sell high. Okay. I mean, I love it, right? Like, if you don't trade him, like, good for you. This guy's popping off, and Dylan Strome and Protosh, like, that's a really nice line, and they're really going right now. But I don't know. I don't trust it. He still can't skate. He's still reliant on the other players. Like, Dylan Strome's playing amazing, right? Facilitating here, and Protosh coming in has been a nice spark plug on that line. So, I don't know where I'm at. I don't walk it back, but like I said, I'm happy to be wrong. If he broke the record, like, he's on a 50 goal pace this year. That would be, I just love sports. If Ovechkin got 50 this year, I'd be super stoked about that. And I don't even care. So that said, I would be selling high on Ovechkin.
Yeah, I have to agree. I wanted to stick it to you a bit, but I have to agree. This is definitely a sell high moment on Ovechkin for me too. Yeah, the time on ice is probably the
Yeah.
most concerning thing for me. Like when I look back at my projections, I projected him for 1945 time on ice, and that got me to a 39 goal projection. Now he's getting like
Yeah.
18 minutes average on the season, and he's pacing for 52 with a 19.4% shooting percentage. That's just not who Alex Ovechkin is. He never really has been a 19% shooter, even his
Yeah.
best days. I had him projected at 13.2. Even if he exceeds that by a couple percentage points, I think you see some serious regression from this point, and the overall time on ice being lowered is giving me a lot of pause here. So I do think Ovechkin is a pretty big sell high at the moment. Strom as well. Like, I know he's not as highly rostered, but in your deeper leagues or more serious leagues, he's definitely a guy that's being held. And that's another player that I'd be willing to move off of. They're kind of playing around with these lines a bit, and
Mhm.
he's not been on the top power play. Connor McMichael emerging has kind of taken over that spot. PLD has, against all odds, managed to hold Dylan
Oh
Strom off the
my
top
God.
power play. So that's still happening. Make it make sense, but that's the way it's going right now, and that's a problem for Dylan Strom long term.
Yeah.
Just the fact that that's even a possibility is a problem for Dylan Strom long term. And then Protest, I think, is just a pretty clear case of a guy who's getting hot alongside other guys who are really driving the bus and getting hot. So, yeah, I don't think you're getting anything for him, but I think you ride it while it lasts, and then you dump Protest as soon as it starts to fall off, which I believe, at least based on what we're seeing right now with no underlying stats that really knock my socks off, that you just drop this guy whenever it starts to move south again. All right, we got to keep going. We got to talk about Sam Reinhart. He's got 5 goals, 9 points in his last five as well. 20 minutes, average time on ice here. 50th shots per 60, 89th individual scoring chances, 4 per 60. The on ice numbers are pretty terrible in the 200s.
Yep.
That's not what we expect to see, but pacing for 63 goals and 133 points on the season is Sam Reinhart. Were we like, is this just who Sam Reinhart is? Like he's got a 26% shooting percentage on the season. Is he gonna do it again?
I wouldn't bet on it, but damn, I mean, it's even higher than it was last year. What? I love the Sex Panther, and every time I love that name is taken off. And I don't know if you've heard, we have new theme music on the Cream of the Crop show, and I always think of the Sex Panther. It just sounds kind of good. I like the way that rolls off the tongue. But yeah, the neat thing about Reinhardt is like anybody goes down, this guy is just going bananas, right? With Barkov out, he was not only able to like tread water there, but he was able to thrive with those really good players out in Florida and make a huge difference for his team. And then what's the alternative? Oh, Barkov comes back and now he gets to play with Barkov. Like, sheesh, this guy is in an amazing situation here. And he's not even going off on the power play yet. So I do think that Reinhardt, 132 point pace, no, but he got 94 points last year. 90-point Reinhardt, that seems like pretty standard stuff. I like if everything kind of goes the way it's going, like everything is running through him and Barkov looks good. So I'm in on the Sex Panther. I didn't get him anywhere because of the value being shot for him, but he could maybe even beat that draft position that he had this year. Like, that's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's possible. I yeah, again, I don't think that 26% is going to last, but like I could see 18, 19 pretty easily at this point. It's not, the longer this goes, the bigger the sample
Yeah.
size is that he's just an absolutely elite converter with an elite playmaking center and Barkov by his side all season. So, yeah, at some point you just have to accept that this situation is pretty unique for fantasy purposes. Um, that being said, like, yeah, definitely not 130-point pace. I agree, like 90 point pace. He could be like a 50, 40, 90 guy,
Yeah.
50
40 or 50,
goals.
40, 50, either or.
Yeah, either way, I think you're probably pretty happy. I don't really know that, like, Sam Reinhart's just like not the sexiest name. I don't think you can really
What
even
are you
sell
talking?
high
Wait,
on
wait,
the
wait, wait,
guy.
wait, wait. What are you talking about? What?
It's the name itself. Obviously, we all love the Sex Panther, but
I'm looking at this
uh,
man's headshot right now, and you're wrong, Nate. All right.
all right. All right. I just think you can't probably sell high on Reinhardt at a 130-point pace. I think everybody is expecting it to fall off just because it's been talked about so much, and so I'm probably hanging on to Sam Reinhardt if I have him anywhere. All right, next up on the list, Gustav Nyquist, 3 goals, 5 points in his last 5, just under 17 minutes average time on ice, in the 300s in shots per 60 and individual scoring chances 4 per 60, in the low 100s in Corsi 4 per 60 and on ice scoring chances 4 per 60. This honestly was just some positive regression coming back. He's lost his top power play spot, which is pretty unfortunate for his fantasy prospects. But this is still a guy who established a lot of chemistry on that top line with Forsberg and O'Reilly last year. They still got him there. They have played around with it a little bit to try to get things going, but he's back on that line as of the last game here. And I think he's probably going to stay there, but I think I'm looking at Nyquist as more of like a 50-point guy, 50, 55-point guy without the top power play there. And so this is just like the hot streak to like cancel out the cold streak to start the season. And now he's on pace for 30 goals, 52 points. Probably ends up more in like a 20 goal, 52 point kind of scenario by the end of the season. That's where I'm at with Nyquist. I think he's probably a mostly forgettable streamer kind of level player for most leagues.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, I don't even know if 50's there, honestly. Like, it's especially if he's off that top power play. And yeah, they toyed with taking him off the top line, which is what he needs. Like, you got to be on that line with ROR and Forsberg really for fantasy goodness. But the thing with Nyquist, I will say Nashville has that Monday, Wednesday to start the week here, week 5. I think this he's going to be your priority streamer. He's going to be the guy that's out there. So you're going to want to grab Nyquist for those Monday, Wednesday games on this stinky week here. But yeah, it's a nice story. I mean, 75 points in 81 games. I remember last season, I had this guy on my team at multiple points and dropped him at multiple points. But if I just would have held, like, I got a 75-point player. Damn. Yeah, it was just the most unassuming 75 points ever. I just don't see him ever coming close to that again.
Yeah, I don't think you can really count on it, unfortunately. Next one up, Jake Wallman. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Obviously, we had some shenanigans with the top power play
Great
in
word.
San Jose, but now Jake Wallman's got a goal and 7 points in his last 5 games here, over 22 minutes. He shoots 26th in shots per 60, even with those big minutes. 46th in Corsi 4 per 60, 49th on ice scoring chances 4 per 60. I mean, Jake Wallman does those things that we like for fantasy, right? He is one of those guys. But now we have Timothy Liljegren in the mix here and taking some top power play time away in this last game. Looks like Liljegren got 2 minutes 40 seconds and Wallman was down at 109. So yeah, what do you think now, Blake, about this situation? Is Wallman still rosterable even if he doesn't get top power play moving forward?
I think so. Yeah, I definitely think so. We have to look at what Wallman's been able to do even in the past, right? And he's never even come close to this type of deployment he's getting here in San Jose, power play or not, right? And this is a guy he's going to flirt with double-digit goals every year. Reminds me kind of I mean, he's not, but like kind of the Bo Byram profile a little bit, like a pretty efficient guy. He's not very efficient this year. I mean, he's shooting 2.9%, but I still think with what Ryan Warsofsky's doing there, the head coach in San Jose, like, this isn't the last time we're going to see Wallman on power play 1. I think, unless Liljegren comes in here and really just dominates, which he didn't do, but he looked fine, right? But it's a different look. It's kind of like Luke Hughes and Dougie Hamilton. And yes, folks, I am comparing Timothy Liljegren and Jake Wallman to Luke Hughes and Dougie Hamilton. All right, but obviously Wallman's the shooter here. That's kind of his weapon, whereas Liljegren's more of the facilitator. So I think we'll see him back up there. But the periffs, like if you have any peripheral weighting with your hits and blocks in a points league, guy's absolutely worth rostering because he's going to score some goals as well. And then if he gets on the power play, it's just gravy, right? But 55% power play share this year, only 1 power play point. He still plays for San Jose, folks. So that said, I think he's like a low end roster guy. I think he should be rostered.
Yeah. For whatever it's worth, Liljegren only skated 16:57 total in that game. It's their first game, so I don't want to read too much into that, but he did take top power play right away. So yeah, that is concerning for Wallman's long-term value, but like you said, there is other stuff that he brings to the table there that could keep him rosterable depending on your settings. One guy that is definitely rosterable in just about every league out there is Brant Clark. This guy has been absolutely popping off as of late. He's got a goal and 7 points in his last five, averaging over 19 minutes in that last 5 game span. But it does look like this has been taken up over time. If you go back 6 games, you get a 22-minute game, then a 15-minute, 13-second game kind of randomly, 18-24, 22-50, 18-19, 21-53. He has sprinkled in a 5-shot game, a 6-shot game. He's got a pair of 6-shot games, actually. If you look at his game log here over the last little bit, he's been doing a little bit of hitting here, adding some blocks. He's starting to do it all a little bit for fantasy purposes, is Brant Clark. Turns out he's pretty good at hockey. Who knew? He's fourth in shots per 60, 16th individual scoring chances 4 per 60, sixth in on ice Corsi 4 per 60, 12th on ice scoring chances 4 per 60, pacing for 75 points. Can Drew Doughty unseat this man when Doughty comes back, Blake?
I don't know. It's a big injury that Doughty had, so I think they're gonna want to ease him in, right? Giggity. So you just yeah. Thanks, Nate. Sorry. I always watch Nate's camera when I make a really bad joke to see what he does. And then, yeah, that sort of directs the way I'll carry on. Yeah, I think he'll have a little bit of a leash there, but ultimately I think that's Doughty's spot. If they're serious about doing something, you got to go with a guy of Doughty's caliber. He's no spring chicken, but he's still Drew Doughty, and he's an elite defenseman just in real life. So as long as he's healthy, I think Doughty will probably take it back. But this is amazing stuff. I love this these minutes here, like you said, over 20 minutes for Brant Clark. I didn't expect that, right? I was thinking okay, 16 to 18, Brant Clark with power play 1. That's enough. I really thought that was enough. Well, now this dude is pacing for 75 points, which he won't get, but that's the caliber of player this is. And that's what Nate was trying to tell you guys. And I was trying to tell you guys, this guy is elite. He's too good to be playing, in the minors, right? This guy needs to be up in the show. And I'm so glad that he's getting power play 1. That assist he got the other night. You see that where he sort of kind of did a little spin around there, but elite, through his legs, doing crazy stuff and just wide open net pass to somebody else. This guy's amazing. I'm very stoked for this player. And it's really great for the Kings because Doughty, he has a successor, right? Like a true, is that the right word? Successor? That's the person who's coming up. Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, he has a true guy that's going to be, taking over his spot when he's gone. And Brant Clark, I think sky's the limit for this guy. We could be looking at a 70-point defenseman in the future.
Yeah, I don't think he hit 70 this year, but it's nice to see everything working. The thing is, it probably depends how it's working at the moment that Doughty comes back, right? If it's still working at this clip, I don't think there's a chance that Doughty takes it over immediately. And then it's just probably kind of game by game, week by week after that. But if Clark sustains any kind of level, obviously I don't think he's going to maintain. He's got a 69% IPP, which is nice, but probably too nice. I don't think that lasts, but 11.3% on ice shooting percentage, I don't think that that's crazy for what he's been doing so far. If he gets more time on ice, I don't know, the underlying numbers are so good so early in this guy's career. Yeah, I think this guy's absolutely elite, and he's probably going to be one of our favorite fantasy defensemen for multiple seasons moving forward. The only fly in the ointment is what they might potentially do with a guy of Drew Doughty's stature on that team when he comes back. But at this point, yeah, you're holding on to Clark if you got him. I don't think anybody's trading for him right now at full value. So realistically, I don't think there's much to be done here, but we want to celebrate a guy who's absolutely popping off and looking like one of the biggest young offensive defensemen of the future in the NHL. All right. Well, if you've made it into the middle of the episode, you're going to want to hear about the Apples and Junos Patreon. $2 a month gets you the supporter tier, access to patron-only live shows. There won't be one this week, but there will be one the week following, so make sure you come around for that. The Apples tier is $8 a month, gets you the patron-only live shows, patron-only Discord channels, gets you show notes, including the notes for this show right here and the Waiver Wire show. Gets you all those weekly ad targets that you guys you can look at at for your bangers leagues, all that stuff that we put in there. You have access to that every week. It also gets you the Apples and Geos player evaluation tool, which is what Blake and I are looking at as we're talking through these players every time we're on the mic. The Degenerate or Genos tier is $15 a month. It gets you all the previous perks, but also every single question is guaranteed to be answered by yours truly. That is the plug, and these are the have-nots. Blake, what is going on with Charlie McAvoy?
Jimmy cracked corn, and I don't know. All right, but it's been a stinky time for McAvoy. There's no question. I mean, this guy's got 1 assist, which he got today is Sunday in the last 5 games, so that's nice. But this game today was a nice sign, right? Like he's been pretty bad on the year. 25-point pace, gross. But 7 shots today, 3 blocks. That's a start, and obviously, like we talked about what the coach is doing there in Boston, benching Pasta and the yelling at Marchand, and now McAvoy's not performing either. Like maybe he's losing the room a little bit. Like Boston has been flying high for so long, and I don't know. Like the other shoe's got to drop at some point, right? But today was a nice win, a 2-0 win over the Kraken. Sure, that's something they can build on. But yeah, in terms of McAvoy, like it's hard to tell. I just think, Boston hasn't been just as elite, I guess, at what they normally do. Like McAvoy is a great puck rushing defenseman, and it just feels like everybody's kind of got their feet in quicksand in Boston in some of the games that I've watched. And it's really hard to put your finger on, but I do trust the player, and he's obviously getting power play 1. Everybody's underachieving there, so he's a buy low, obviously, but like the numbers aren't great. But so it'd be like a buy low, but you're looking at what he's done previously in his career and kind of trusting the talent of the player.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a weird situation with McAvoy where last year I think he kind of underperformed individually, and this year the team is underperforming and he's underperforming. Prior to this game where he got the assist here today, he had 10 straight games without a single point. It was pretty terrible for Charlie McAvoy for a long stretch. 7 shots in today's game makes you feel a little bit better about what might be coming down the pipe here, but also he's going to need some help, and the Bruins have not been able to generate that so far. So really my temperature on McAvoy really depends on my temperature on the Bruins as a whole. If you're worried about the Bruins moving forward, as many are, then you should be worried about Charlie McAvoy. If you're not so worried about the Bruins, you think they're going to bounce back, then I do think Charlie McAvoy starts to look like a bounce back candidate and somebody you might want to look at acquiring. 10th in on-ice scoring chances for per 60 amongst all defensemen over the last 5 games, so that's something there. The other numbers are a bit more middling. 59th shots per 60, even with this 7-shot game today. 49th in on-ice Corsi for per 60. So yeah, it's kind of a scenario where it really depends on your temperature on the team at the moment, whether you think they'll bounce back, and they'll bounce back specifically offensively to get McAvoy that offensive potential that I do think he has inside of him. Myself personally, I am interested in acquiring him low if somebody's willing to sell. I would be looking to make that deal. I think he's good enough that even if the Bruins aren't quite the team that they were the last number of seasons, I still think he can be like a 50-55 point guy as a pace rest of season. Probably not going to hit that on the total season after starting with 4 points in his first 13 here. But I still think he can get to that kind of pace for the rest of the season, and he's going to do that while supplying a crap ton of hits and blocks as he always does. So that's going to be valuable for you at least. Next up on the list, Teuvo Teravainen. In the previous 5 games, he had 0 points. The Chicago Blackhawks are playing right now. They are winning 3-0, and Teravainen does have a power play goal. So he's doing something at this exact moment, but it's been a little rough for Teravainen, and this comes on the second power play unit. He is now off the top line and off the top power play unit. Previously, I had been like pretty okay with the fact that Teravainen wasn't producing for the last little bit, just because he was still getting all those minutes and all that Bedard exposure. Without that Bedard exposure, what's your temperature on Teravainen now?
Not as high, obviously, but it's weird. Bedard he's been pretty cold himself, although he does have some points tonight. I think he has a couple assists, or 1 at the very least. So yeah, I mean 2, great. Okay. So yeah, like Teravainen right now, what's he pacing for? It's like 48 or something like that. That's kind of what we had him, right? That's like, I think I project them for 52, so he's in and around there. I think it's totally reasonable, but this is not a guy that, like, he's streamer level to me, right? I love the Bedard exposure, but again, off the top power play, it's looking way less interesting to me. So it's just never a guy either, Teravainen, that has good metrics, right? The shot and chance generation always been terrible. His big seasons in Carolina, it was because of great power play production, right? He had 31 power play points in 2021-22. Very nice, right? And then he never really got that power play one treatment again. Well, he was getting it in Chicago here. He's got a 63% power play share, but like Nate said, off the top power play, that show ain't no good. So for me to be interested in Teravainen, it's solely due to his power play deployment.
Yep. I think that's exactly the take that I'd go with there. Let's keep going and talk about Vinny Tro, friend of the show, Vinny Tro.
Oh, yeah.
Now, he came up with, I think it was a goal in the game today, so he got a little bit better from where I made the sheet, but he's still only got 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points in his last 5. That's definitely not what we expect from Trocheck after the season he had last year and earlier this year, playing alongside Mr. Artemi Panarin. He's still got 9 points in 11 games on the season, skating 22 minutes a night. The underlying metrics are so bad, though. Like, really, really puzzling stuff. 281 shots per 60, 271 individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, 263 on ice Corsi, 4 per 60, 161 on ice scoring chances, 4 per 60 there. What is happening with Vinny Tro, and how is it possible to have metrics that bad while playing with Artemi Panarin?
I don't know, man. I'm hesitant to say anything bad about this man. All right. He's beautiful head of hair, amazing jawline, and he was kind enough to give us a shout out on the show. So shout out to you, my man. But yeah, nothing lasts forever, right? This isn't like the Legion of Doom from, the Philadelphia Flyer days. Like, yeah, it was a great line last year, and it kind of caught people by surprise. Well, now people expect it, right? They know what that line's bringing to the table. He's another year older, which he's not an old man by any means, but yeah, it's just we're still only 11 games in, right? I do think that Trocheck will probably I think he could do 70 points, right? Still, even with this start here, 65 to 70 points, I think is probably what happens here. But he did, even in this game here, they've kind of been dinking around with the lines there, right? Yeah. They put Lafreniere up on the top line with Panarin and Zibby. Zibanejad, our boy, 3 assists. All right. Who Nate famously traded to me in our Experts League for a 9th-round pick. All right. That's the headline that's going to read there, Nate. All right. So I do like Trocheck still. Obviously, the bangs are really good. He's amazing at that. But yeah, if he's playing on that second line, like he played with Riley Smith and Will Cooley today. So if that persists, yeah, definitely that we're chopping some off the ceiling here with Trocheck. Power play 1, that's where he lives, right? Like he can still do a lot there. 24 power play points last year. I think that's absolutely reasonable again this year. But yeah, he's never really been a big metrics guy though. Like, it's not really expected. I think Trocheck brings so much more to the table in real life than he does for fantasy at times. But yeah, it's tough to see him getting moved down to the second line there.
Yeah, I think just given how good that line was for so long last year, and even at the start of this year, it was good. I don't expect this will last. It may last a few more games just because they had a good result, but also they were playing the Islanders today. So, take that for how you will. I don't have that much concern other than, just the individual metrics being so bad. And it just seems weird, right?
Yeah.
So far, it's, a small sample, but if it starts to become a larger sample, then you start to wonder about, sometimes the underlying numbers tell us something about if the player's fully healthy before we ever hear anything. I'm not going to speculate on that just yet, but if it turns into more of a situation like that, then we could see it, and we could see his minutes start to go down. So far, his minutes haven't really gone down, and that's making me, at least a little bit more confident in sticking with it while the results aren't so great. Nazem Kadri, next up on the list here, just 1 goal in his last 5. The Flames are playing midway through the third against Edmonton. Right now it's 2-2, and Kadri does not have a point in this one either. 18 minutes time on ice, 30th in shots per 60, 25th on ice or individual scoring chances 4 per 60, 17th in on ice Corsi 4 per 60, 71st on ice scoring chances 4 per 60. Underlying metrics look great with Kadri. On the season, Kadri ranks 6th in the league in individual scoring chances 4 per 60. So yeah, underlying everything looks perfect. The actual stats on the stat sheet not looking so perfect. What's your temperature on Kadri and the Flames in general here?
Well, Kadri first, he's a buy low, no question. But I mean, what are we expecting at this point? That's kind of where you have to determine what you're valuing this player at. He got 75 points last year. I don't think so. I don't think that's really in the cards this year. I think the Flames are a worse team, and they got off to a good start, which sort of masked how the talent that they lack, right? Like, I mean, I love the chances and the metrics this guy's getting. That's what you want to see, right? But in terms of the opportunity, like, who's he playing with? And I hate to do this, but even today, the popsicle, like Martin Pospisil and Connor Zary, it's not the place to be. Like, he's by far the best player on that line, and he's kind of needed to do everything. I mean, I love Connor Zary and like what he brings to the table. Obviously, my feelings on Pospisil, certainly in a bangers league, and what he's able to do in terms of offensive generation, but he doesn't get a lot of minutes. So I think, yeah, it's hard to say. I'm not excited about any Calgary players. I had Huberdeau in one spot at the beginning of the year, and I was low key excited. I'm like, okay, wow, the Flames are actually doing this, and yeah, I've tempered expectations massively here with the Calgary Flames. And I think if you value Kadri as like a 60-point player, then you're going to be happy with what you get, because 60 points should be really his floor with these kind of metrics. And so if he does get on a heater, yeah, you've got a 75-point ceiling. But I just don't see that happening with this version of the Flames this year.
Yeah, I'm starting to agree. It pains me because I love guys with the underlying metrics that haven't quite popped off yet. I want to buy low
Yeah.
on all of them. But yeah, like even in this game against the Oilers ongoing, the Backlund and I don't know what you call it, the Huberto or Sharangovich line, both of those lines around 9 minutes, and the Kadri Pospisil Zary line is just over 5 minutes. Like it's a big
Yeah.
step down
Yeah.
in terms of even strength. Obviously, that is one game. It's not the how the lines are going to be for the rest of the season or anything. But the fact that that's a possibility where it's like a top 9 situation and they could spread it, they could move Kadri to a different line where he's deprioritized for a number of games. The fact that it's probably going to be up and down throughout the season, all of that is just giving me enough pause where I'm like, this player's going to be a headache even if
Yep.
the numbers look
Yeah.
okay at the end of the season. I'm going to have weeks where I wish I didn't have them, and I'm going to have some weeks where I'm pretty happy with it. And yeah, it really depends. If you're okay with that, if you're willing to take the highs with the lows, then maybe you're okay with it. But I think Kadri himself, like, yeah, the underlying metrics are pretty for real. He had great underlying metrics last year too. This is even a step up from that. I don't know if I expect that to continue all year long, but he is a guy who will show out that way. It's really just about, can you really trust the deployment and who he's going to be playing with on any given night. Moving along, Igor Chinnikov has fallen off in a big way here, down to 1 assist in his last 5, just under 17 minutes average time on ice, 228 shots per 60, 287 individual scoring chances, 4 per 60. Yeah, things are just starting to slow down again for Chinnikov. Actually, for the Blue Jackets in
Yeah.
general, things have slowed down a little bit here, which, maybe was not the least predictable thing about the early NHL season here. Yeah, what do you think about this? The last line we had here for Chinikov was Voronkov and Fantilli, which I kind of like, but the results were not necessarily all there. They did have good Corsi 4 numbers for whatever that's worth. Chinikov's still on the top power play at the moment, but definitely the product has decreased over the last little bit. What's your temperature on Chinikov? Is he still a hold for you?
Um, yeah, he's not a must hold. There's no question there. Like, this is a guy you can easily drop, because who's rushing to the wire to get Igor Chinnikov, who's, like all the stuff you just described, 1 assist in his last 5? No, that's terrible. But I think we've seen kind of a case study. He can pop off, right? And I think that it's it's weird, like the talent that's sort of emerging there in Columbus. Like obviously we love Kirill Marchenko. Chinakhov is sort of next in line there, and Sean Monahan's having a nice little season. So yeah, it's a bad stretch here, but I do think Chinakhov will be back, kind of putting some points on the board, maybe at like a 50 to 55 point pace. And I think if he got 55 points on the year, that'd be a great season for Igor Chinakhov, and a nice piece for the Columbus Blue Jackets moving forward. But yeah, power play one, I think he's first up for your streamers, right? If Marchenko's already taken, you gotta go with Chinakhov there. What are they doing with Adam Fantilli? Why can't Adam Fantilli get more minutes? Why can't he get on power play one? I mean, he's a young guy. He's a very young guy. That's really the only thing I can think of. It's like, let's ease this guy in, right? But I mean, everything under the hood with Fantilli, like we're liking that, right? And he looks good out there. It's just, yeah, it's interesting. They're prioritizing Chinakhov over Fantilli, and that's an interesting decision. The one I wish I could, sit down and talk to Dean Evison about. Like, what are you seeing out there? Like, let us know.
Yeah, I definitely wish we were getting a little bit more Fantilli love. I still think there's a pretty solid chance that he makes an undeniable case for more ice time later on in the season. So I'm still holding out hope for that. But yeah, I think I'm pretty much in line with you on Chinakhov there. I do think you can drop him at this point, especially if he's off the top line. I do want to draw kind of some parallels here. Chris Kreider, Rupe Hintz, both guys that probably aren't going to get the most minutes on their respective squads, but you expect them to be in all those high pressure situations. Chris Kreider, he scored today, so he's up now 2 goals in his last 5 games. Prior to today's game, it was just 1 goal in his last 5 before today. Rupe Hintz just 1 goal, no assists in his last 5 games, both skating, between 17 and 17 and a half minutes time on ice, both in the 100s in shots per 60, not great, not terrible. Hintz is actually 21st in individual scoring chances 4 per 60, 50th in Corsi 4 per 60, 36th in on-ice scoring chances 4 per 60. Kreider getting absolutely decimated in the on-ice numbers 204, Corsi 4 per 60, 301 on-ice scoring chances 4 per 60. Kreider has 7 goals, 0 assists, a 52-goal pace for the season. And Hintz is just kind of putt-putting along. It feels like a 30-goal, 60-point pace. Like, yep. It's like, it should be better, right? That's what it feels like.
Absolutely.
But the underlying numbers are still quite good. You just don't know if you can trust the minutes with Kreider. If the shooting percentage drops off from 24% where it's at right now, what are you left with if he's not even getting any assists? Is he really just a deflection machine at this point, and he's not really got the the game-breaking ability that he once had? So where are you at with these two guys? It feels like similar but totally dissimilar at the same time.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting comparison because they're 2 different style of players. Excuse me. Obviously, for me, Hintz is the one I'm interested in. But what the hell are they doing in Dallas? There, it's so frustrating because I've got one of my teams is pretty Dallas heavy. I've got Heiskanen, who we know is a much better player in reality than in fantasy. He's tooting in all our faces, so that stinks. But I mean, he still should be better than what he's doing in fantasy. And Hintz is kind of in that vein as well. Like you said about the scoring chances, this guy, he looks good out there, but they're doing weird stuff with the lines as well. Like now Hintz is playing with, I think it was Jamie Benn, like what? Jamie Benn and Logan Stankoven put some stank on it. That's actually not terrible. And they got the second most ice time at even strength in the last game. So that's okay, but it's just, they're not running stuff through him, right? They're running it all through Matt Duchene. All right. Every time Matt Duchene is on the ice, like, buddy, let's just get the puck to Duchene, let him get the biz. But yeah, it could be a frustrating season for Hintz for sure. But I do think there's a 70-point player there, but we're going to have to see a little bit more prioritization. He does a lot of stuff defensively as well that, never gets noticed for fantasy. He's a great player. And one of the reasons why Dallas is doing so well. Kreider, on the other hand, chicken necks, that vampire bait, one of the longest necks I've ever seen in my life. Do you remember that toy from the 80s, Nate? I know you were, just born, but it's called Stretch Armstrong. You just stretch, like it's a rubber guy, but you stretch the head up. That's what Chris Kreider looks like. Someone just took his head and they just stretched it way up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I wasn't born in the 80s, so I can't comment there.
Weren't you born in 89?
No.
What the God? This is terrible. They had Stretch Armstrong in the 90s, Nate. All right.
Okay. I'll trust you on it.
Just so damn.
It's still in
smug.
diapers, so
yeah, Google it. All right, damn it. But yeah, anyways, Chris Kreider's neck, elite. All right, but let's agree on that. But yeah, to me, he's the best net front guy, in the entire league. So he's not moving off that power play. I can't see him doing that. But yeah, this last game, again, funny business, shenanigans, as you said earlier. They got him with Capo Caco and Philip Hedl, which isn't terrible, but the ice time is way down. Right. I like those players, but the ice time, that's kind of what he needs. So I think they're really trying to get Zibby going there, Zibanejad. Obviously, getting him with Panarin and Lafreniere, that's a choice, right? And they did get Zibby going, so maybe they get him going, feeling good, and they get Kreider back up there, and they start cooking at even strength. But yeah, Rangers have they got a nice problem there. They have an embarrassment of riches with their players, and I think Kreider will be afforded some time to sort of figure it out. 7 goals and 0 assists. That's just classic Chris Kreider, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely is. The most concerning part with Kreider for me is that he's a minute under my time on ice projections for the season. That was leading to a 38 goal, 65 point season in my projections. If he's going to be down from that, then you can, draw your own conclusions about that. I don't think he's going to shoot 24% on the season. And so I am actually pretty worried about Kreider overall, especially if they can't sustainably figure out some 5v5 stuff there against anybody other than the Islanders. Hintz is a spot where, baby dry. I like the player. I think
Yeah.
that he's a super efficient player. He can sustain that kind of efficiency. But again, we've talked about it. Dallas is just going to roll these lines. They're going to play around with it. It's never going to be comfortable. You're never going to be happy any given week, it feels like. And then you're going to look up at the end of the season and be like, yeah, he had 65, he had 70 points, and he was a solid guy. But probably we're not going to be looking at Hintz as what we thought he could be, a point per game plus player, given 20 minutes a night or something like that. A couple defensemen that I think we can also contrast and compare a little bit. Seth Jones, Jake Sanderson, both just 1 assist in their last 5 games, both obviously playing all situations. Seth Jones playing almost 27 minutes a night over the last 5 games here. Jake Sanderson almost 24. Neither of these guys are big time shooters in the last little bit. Seth Jones definitely has more of a reputation as a shooter, and he's up higher in terms of his season long numbers, his season long rates. But 83rd shots per 60 over the last 5 to Sanderson 75th, so comparable there. Sanderson much further behind in the scoring chances, though. The on ice numbers kind of flip flopped. It's kind of funny. 90th in Corsi, 4 per 60, 33rd in scoring chances, 4 per 60 for Jones, 19th for Sanderson and Corsi, 4 per 60, about 105th in on ice scoring chances, 4 per 60. So yeah, it's a little bit kind of backwards there. It feels like a bit. Seth Jones did get a power play goal in this game here today, so you can add that to the tally on his side. But maybe talk to me about who you'd be taking rest of season between these two. And, Seth Jones does a lot more peripherally. So maybe tell me, in a points only, would you take Jones or Sanderson as well?
Yeah, it's a good question. Oh God, put me on the spot. Why don't you, Nate? I think I'd probably still go. No, you know what? I'll take Sandy on that. I'm taking Jake Sandy. I'm taking him to the bank. I like the Ottawa power play a little bit better. I feel like, I've talked about this before, but they get so much power play time. Like, they usually lead the league, or they did for 2 straight years in actual power play time on ice. And this guy's the quarterback on that. So he's going to be out there. I like their players better. Their players are better offensively. So I think there's a better chance for Sanderson to get points. I mean, he's on a 67-point pace right now. That's not real. That's not happening. Seth Jones, yes, he's on a 57-point pace. I don't think either of these guys is going to match that, but I think there's a better chance for Sanderson to get some points there. And yeah, if there's any peripheral weighting though, I mean, yeah, you got to go Seth Jones there. It makes absolute sense. Sanderson does block. He's good at that. But I mean, the hits are, subpar. Although, fun fact, Sanderson has more hits than Seth Jones right now on the season. So what the hell are we talking about? I don't know, but that won't be the case at the end, I don't think. I don't know. Who are you taking out of those two, Nate?
Yeah, I think I'm taking Jones in any
Oh,
kind
God,
of
no.
bangers waiting, but in points only, I think it's much more of a toss up. Yeah, I'm just not convinced that Sanderson is this guy on a full season basis. 53% IPP to get here so far.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just not convinced yet. I could be convinced, but I think Seth Jones might have a little bit better of a floor, honestly, which sounds crazy to say, but just that time on ice
Love
alone
that. Yeah.
is just so huge. Yeah. Um, I think I might lean Jones. It's definitely like within the same tier or whatever you want to call it in terms of point production rest of season for me.
Ooh, another
You get,
tattoo bet here, Nate, or what? Oh, damn, you're
I
going to be
would not
covered by the end of the season, my man.
I would not bet on these two, that's for sure. It does feel pretty coin flippy to me. All right, we got to move on. We got to get under the hood with Mr. Connor McMichael. He's been doing the thing as of late. He's got 4 goals in the last 5 games, 12 points in the 10 games that he's played on the season. He's been doing the thing and then some. 17:47 average time on ice here over the last 5 games, but also getting some power play 1 run now. That's another reason that Dylan Strome is off the top power play there. And the numbers are just so good. 11th in shots per 60, third in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60 over the last 5. Those are numbers I like to see when I'm looking at a player like this. And yeah, I mean, I'm obviously not going to bet on him scoring on his current pace of 52 goals, 90 points for the full season. He's getting there on a 14.2% on ice shooting percentage and a 21.2% personal shooting percentage. That's not going to
Yep.
happen. But the on ice or the individual metrics, I should say, are just so good that you have to stand up and take notice. I said it in the waiver wire show. This is a guy who had a really legit prospect profile and seemed like he kind of lost his way a little bit. His development got stalled for a couple of years, but I'm I'm not like saying again. I feel like I said this exact same thing with Dorofiev last week. We talked about Pavel Dorofiev in this segment. I feel like I'm saying the same thing here. It's not that I'm saying McMichael's a guarantee for the rest of the season, but these are the kind of profiles that you really need to bet on. And yeah, if he's still out there in your leagues, he definitely shouldn't be. But that being said, he is available in a lot of leagues right now. So I think you should at least go check because McMichael is still available in 57% of Yahoo leagues at this exact moment. And yeah, anybody who can score, he can throw up a 10-shot game, probably worth having on your roster. All right, let's keep rolling over to move of the week.
Oh
Blake, tell
yeah.
us about this big trade you got done.
Yeah, this is actually giving me a little bit of PTSD here, buddy. I had a big trade ready to talk about, ready to go. This is in Kakupful, and I was pretty damn excited about it. I had on my side, I was giving up Zach Hyman and Brad Marchand, and I was receiving Wyatt Johnston and Timo Meyer. And yeah, it got accepted. Everything was all good. And then anyone who's in Kakupful knows that they have a kind of a system where other managers can make offers and try and beat the offer of the trade. And it got vetoed. Someone took an offer there. And I'd like to get your thoughts on this, Nate. The guy, so he took the other guy's offer instead of mine of Hyman and Marchand. And he took Sidney Crosby and Matvey Michkov instead of Hyman and Marchand. And what are your thoughts on that? Because I mean, the only reason this is my move of the week is because I was pretty damn excited, and then it kind of pissed me off. I was and then Hyman's having a nice game tonight, so good for me. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that trade in general, and just trades? Maybe give us a little talk on trades there, Nate.
Yeah, I think it's a spot where Hyman would be my most valuable player between your package versus the other package that got accepted, and so I'm generally just going to default to that. I think Michkov and Marchand might be somewhat comparable rest of season. So yeah, Hyman being left wing, right wing, probably projecting for similar points on the rest of the season than with Crosby there. Maybe you give Crosby a few more assists, but Hyman more goals, and so it kind of evens out that way. Yeah, I think I like the Hyman package better if I'm the other guy, but obviously they disagreed. So, but yeah, now you got Hyman and he's got you a goal and an assist. So
Oh, it's good times over here, buddy.
it's good times for you. Yeah, in general, like I like the trades. I like just the trading in general. I've found it so hard to get trades done, especially now I'm in leagues with all people who know me and they know exactly who I'm coming for and they try to squeeze me and you know yeah, it's just a spot where I haven't been able to get really good deals. Really, the experts league where it's all like draft picks and like angling for the future or trading away your draft picks now to
Yep.
go in. Like that's where you could get something done. But outside of the keeper league, it's been really tough for me to get trades done over the last few years since the podcast has gotten a little bit bigger and people have been tuning in. But yeah, I do enjoy it. I still think about it. I still throw stuff out there, but I haven't gotten much done over the last couple of years. For myself here, my move of the week, just getting the best of both worlds with one ad. There are some unique situations that you should be paying attention to, and one of them was here with Edmonton. So you can pick up an Edmonton, if you could have picked up an Edmonton streamer for today, the Sunday game, and then you still get the Monday, Wednesday off nights for next week. That's just so valuable,
Yeah.
quite honestly, when you're trying to win your matchup this week, but you also get the early off nights for the following week. It's just a really, really good spot. And it's, yeah, just something I wanted to highlight for people. When you're thinking about who you want to pick up for the Sunday, like don't get so locked in and just think about the Sunday, especially if there's similar players that you're trying to weigh one versus the other. You can look ahead and see, okay, if I pick up this guy, I'm going to get him here on the Sunday, but I'm also going to get him, for even if it's just the Monday the next day, even if it's just a back to back, that's still plenty worthwhile. So do think about that when you're making those last ditch Sunday ads to try to bring home your matchup. All right. Unfortunately, we have one more piece of business here, and it is the head-to-head streamer deathmatch. Blake wins again, up to 3-1 on the season. Gabriel Velarde, 28.25 points. That's one of the best
Oh,
scores I think
bang.
we've ever had. Kirill Marchenko did put up 3 assists, but didn't do a whole lot else. He ends up with 12 points. And yeah, Blake, I mean, I guess I'll remind the people Troy Terry is my pick for the upcoming week versus Blake's Alex Laferriere. Would you like to take a victory lap? Would you like to say mean things about my abilities at fantasy hockey? What would you like to do here?
I could never do that, Nate. All right, you're my motivation. You're my inspiration. All right, you're the meaning in my life. You're the I'm going to sing the whole song just for awkwardness. No one wants to look. No one wants to hear a man sing a song. First off, and then it just gets awkward. We're looking at each other in the eyeball. Anyways, Nate. Good job to you. All right. Kirill Marchenko, great streamer, but you had no chance from the start. And that's fine, right? 3-1. Nate, this is how last season started as well. And yeah, I mean, we know how that turned out. I don't know. If you want to figure out what happened last year in the head-to-head streamer deathmatch, just go check the old episodes. I mean, I'm sure you'll be interested in doing that. But yeah, buddy, Alex Laferriere, I'm liking this. This guy got 2 goals. We should, that should count. I mean, I don't know. Right?
Well, Terry did pick up an assist at the end of this game with 4 seconds left here, so wouldn't be too far behind. But yeah, we'll see. Laferriere was on that Fogel Byfield line. Kind of weird. They did some weird stuff with power play units. Still looks like on top power play there for the time being, but should be a good matchup once again. Hopefully, a little bit closer than this past week. If you made it this far, click the link, join the Discord community. You can find that in the description. Like, rate, review, subscribe, comment. That all does help us out a lot. But I think that's going to be all that we've got for this episode. Hopefully, it brought you some value, helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick, which is a terrific free resource. Many thanks to the band there for supplying music for the podcast. Be sure to check out their Spotify as well. That's it, folks. Much love.